All right. With that said, we're going to move into a technology showcase. This is we're going to look deep at the influencer platform GRIN, which what I really like about this tool, and the reason we want to bring them on is because I don't think any other retention event is really going to talk about influencer marketing, especially in this way, right? Because everyone thinks about this as an acquisition channel, but GRIN actually does a great job bringing a, let's say, cohesive brand strategy, and there are some different components of their tool that allow for increasing retention. So I'm going to bring Eric on right now. Hey, Eric, how's it going?
Good, Derek. How are you?
Doing great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the tool. If you want to share your screen, I will bring it up here.
Absolutely. So I've actually put together a quick overview on why we built GRIN the way that we did, just to give the audience a sense of how we differ in this space. GRIN, for those who don't know, is an end-to-end influencer solution. We're a technology company, but we really focus on e-commerce brands specifically and help solve a lot of the pains that e-commerce brands run into when traditionally running influencer programs. Our big core ethos is authentic relationships, and it stems from this idea where we saw a huge shift in consumer attention about 6 years ago, right? Not a shocker. People make buying decisions on their phone now. What we did is we noticed a trend where brands were spending more and more on social and digital and less on these traditional mediums. And it was almost as if Instagram and YouTube, and now TikTok and Twitch, they have replaced how people consume entertainment. And so there was a huge opportunity, obviously, when this was happening. And again, 6 years ago, influencer marketing wasn't what it is today. So we looked at about 3 or 4 dozen brands that were doing quite a bit of influencer marketing. And we tried to see if there was any similarities about the way that these programs were ran so that we could help solve their pains. What we landed on is that every top influencer program focuses on this concept of authenticity. Now, being authentic within social media can be tough to quantify. For us, the way we look at it is if we can empower our brand partners to activate influencers who probably would have bought your product without you having to reach out to them, or perhaps your brand messaging really resonates with the type of content they develop, if you can ultimately activate them as an influencer, you will see that they will deliver a really authentic experience to their audience, and they lead to consumers for your brand. So it's this big full circle. At the time, not a lot of tools were set up to support that. What's common in our space is this middleman model or an opt-in network. What this is where the brand, you of course sign up, but the influencer is also required to sign up in these models. So you create a very transactional environment in these sorts of platforms. They don't work or deliver the type of retention or influencer strategy that you may want. And so what GRIN did essentially is eliminate the need for the influencer to ever have to opt in, log in, create any sort of login in order to access GRIN. You have a direct relationship with your influencers. You still take advantage of this huge social snowball effect. And what GRIN really solves for is this. And so if anybody's watching right now and their day looks anything like this, we built GRIN for you. A lot of the times programs can get convoluted where you're here and you're bouncing around to all these important aspects of your program. GRIN plugs into the middle and connects our e-commerce clients to everything that they need in order to run a successful program. With that in mind, this is what it looks like. So with GRIN being an end-to-end solution, there's quite a few things that we help cover. I'm going to focus on a few specifically today that really help drive the most impact for our brands. And the workflow goes from bottom up. Now, you'll notice that there are some key metrics that GRIN's able to track for you. We basically are able to, at any given moment, tell you how many pieces of content have gone live for your influencers, what the total reachability of your audience is, what type of engagements you're getting. And with our unique approach and e-commerce integrations, you can also track revenue. How much revenue is each influencer generating? How much product have you seeded in order to generate that revenue, even down to what you've paid in commission to your influencers. And all of this is powered through this e-commerce integration that we've built. You can literally connect through a native integration, your e-commerce store, and that gives you the ability to house products directly within the tool, which you can then make available through marketing briefs for influencers to pick what they may want. It's quite common for our clients to use product as compensation and then track how well they're performing, how much their audience is actually generating through codes or links. GRIN's native integration allows you to do things within the tool, then it will talk automatically to your e-commerce store. So no more having to go to the back end of Shopify to generate codes. You can do that in GRIN and we'll talk to Shopify for you. The other really big part of our tool, obviously with any influencer solution, is going to be influencer activation, finding the right people for your brand and how to go about doing it. This is one of the first places you'll see our philosophy be very different from a lot of other tools. We have built a non-opted-in network of roughly 36, almost 37 million creators. What I mean by non-opted-in is they did not have to sign up in order to be visible. We literally look at the same things that you would look at. We have a piece of tech that goes out, adds this data in here so that you can dig through the social rabbit holes with filters, lookalikes, and even enrich your current e-commerce customer list to find people who have purchased your product that have actually a social following that you could tap into. You can see how much they've spent, what kind of products they've purchased. Everything is accessible to you. So influencer activation becomes very holistic with GRIN. From there, instead of having to add them to a spreadsheet, you can literally come in, have a CRM that's built specifically for your team, and dig into all the key kind of back and forths between you and your influencers. What products have you seeded them? What content have they generated? And you can really treat these folks as people because they are representatives of your brand in this very powerful space that is social and digital. And if we think about how we ultimately start to track effectiveness of these influencers and what powers GRIN, it's this concept of a campaign or ongoing activation. With GRIN, at any given moment, you're going to be able to see who is interested in working with you through a live URL feature where you can have influencers pick products. And instead of going to your store, they can go to a live URL, pick the products. You can audit them, determine if this is a good fit for your brand, see whether or not their content lines up, even see if their audience lines up with what you are looking for when working with an influencer. From there, all the other little things get streamlined. So being able to create discount codes at scale, right? No more going to the back end of e-com, having to generate them one by one, go to a spreadsheet. With GRIN, you can literally, with a couple clicks of a button, assign discount codes at scale. The same thing goes for affiliate links, being able to track web traffic and sales. And then really being able to generate orders from within GRIN and then talk directly to your e-commerce store is a huge advantage for our clients. Instead of having to manually create product orders, you can grab a batch of them at once, create that, and they're good to go. You can see tracking, fulfillment status, also even the order numbers. So it eliminates a lot of the time spent by teams who have to go to the back end of their e-commerce in order to fulfill their influencer program. From there, you can see who's posted, who hasn't posted, stay on top of your community, and we integrate directly with your email. So as you begin to work with influencers, all the messaging you send will come directly from the brand and create a really, really authentic experience where we work very much in the background. At the end of it, you're going to get all these reporting metrics so you can see who's driving the most revenue or perhaps the most effectiveness in your campaign, who is delivering the best set of impressions or engagement rate, who is driving the most revenue. And you can manage everything from beginning to end, even down to payments. So GRIN is a unique source of truth for all things influencer related. And if you think holistically about what an influencer community can provide, there is also the idea of reusing content, repurposing content. With GRIN, we take high resolution copies of all of your influencer content, put it in this media library where you can easily access certain assets. So if I want to see everything with the color blue in it that my community's created, I can see that here. I can jump into a post that I may really love, download it out, and now I have the opportunity to reuse this for whatever other marketing purposes or perhaps for my own social easily. GRIN eliminates a lot of the little things required with teams who are actively managing their programs. From there, we take all of that data and we put it into this unique report builder. From here, you can dig into any individual data point that you want and know exactly what's going on at any given moment. You can filter this by date range, by campaign, by brand. You can see how many impressions you've received if we're looking at content specifically. And you can see here, this particular post drove 4 million impressions for me on TikTok. So at any given moment, you, your leadership team, whomever is interested in seeing this, can jump in and know exactly what's happening in the moment. There are a few other things in GRIN that make us incredibly unique. We help bridge the gap with your community management as well through our social listening tools, where you can manage hashtags, @tags, and listen to see what people are talking about. Whether it be about your brand or competitors, you can always see what's going on. GRIN at the end of the day helps save teams on average about 60 hours a month and helps really drive this community-focused, authentic relationship marketing approach. And that is the bulk of the tool, Derek, that I wanted to share.
I love it. Yeah, I'm just sharing in chat that I think that between the social listening tool and the influential customers is what you call it.
Yes.
And we didn't get into it, but really quick, this is where you enrich customer profiles and you find the influencers that are essentially buying from you, right?
Exactly right. So because we have this native integration with e-commerce platforms, the moment that you ultimately get started, we will take your customer data from people who have not opted out of email communication, run those emails through our database and connect social networks to these folks, and you can see how much they've spent. You can add filters in this as well. So if you're really keen on finding people who have at least 10,000 followers who have bought your product, GRIN can give you that list. And from here, you can move these folks into an outreach channel. And again, all the messaging comes directly from the brand. So it is very much a one-on-one relationship with you and your community.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for this demo. I think this gives people a lot to think about. What would you say to somebody that hasn't jumped into influencer marketing yet? Maybe they're getting traction on social and there's kind of this dabbling with some people that have followings, but they haven't really, put a dedicated rep to it yet.
I would say that, things have been accelerated quickly. We're a lot farther ahead in this social digital realm, I think, than even pundits were anticipating by 2021 due to what's happened over the last year and a half. People make buying decisions on their phone. People are heavily invested in social media. And if you are evaluating whether or not now is the right time, find a couple of people online that you think your messaging resonates with. Send them some products. Just develop a relationship with them. Don't worry about the transactional nature of what they need to create if you send this. Don't worry about spending gobs of money on a social celebrity. Find people who you think could benefit from your product and just send them an order. See what happens. You'd be shocked at the return you can get just by treating people like people on social.
Yeah, which perfectly ties into our last brand interview as well. And I think that is the right way to start. When I talk to people about influencer marketing, I always tell them about GRIN as one of the tools. But if I know that they're just getting started, I say, look, you can do 10 or 20 of these on your own. You don't need a tool to manage it. Once it becomes like at least a part-time job, if not a full-time job for somebody, that's when you bring in the tool because, like you said, it saves all the time, streamlines the process, and most importantly, you can justify it by tracking ROI, which is one of the most crucial missing components from influencer marketing. I love the impression count that you're tracking as well. That just like blows my mind. I love it.
We appreciate it, Derek. And yes, I totally agree with everything you laid out.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to move right into our next session.